gentlemen, we now come to a very, very interesting part of the program. We are now going to move on to our very exciting panel discussion. It's titled Science Powers Nations from Sky to Space, because we all know sky is no longer the limit. Please join hands with me to welcome Ambassador Farukh Amil, Chairperson of the Intellectual Property Organization. He brings in a unique vantage point where education, innovation, diplomacy, and national competitiveness intersect. He has represented Pakistan on the world stage with distinction, advocating for intellectual capital, national identity, and the power of scientific progress. Who better can lead this panel for us? Thank you so much, Ambassador Farukh Amil Sahab, for joining us. Please give him a round of applause. Next, we have Dr. Samuel Rizk. He's a resident representative of the UNDP Pakistan. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us today. A big round of applause for him. He's a resident representative of UNDP Pakistan, a global development expert whose leadership integrates science, innovation, governance, and sustainable development, linking national progress with global fixtures and futures. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. Next up, we have Dr. Mehreen Mujtaba, a climate change and health specialist. Thank you so much, Dr. Saiba, for joining us. She's a scientist whose voice influences policy, humanitarian work, and environmental resilience at national and global levels. Are you all tired? Please clap. Please welcome our guests on the stage with rigor and enthusiasm. Last but not the least, please welcome Mr. Ahmad Kamal Janjua Sahab. He's the President and CEO of Cosmic Space Systems, a pioneer in satellite technology, aerospace innovation, and Pakistan's growing footprint in the global space economy. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. I now pass on the reins to you, sir.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. We would like to welcome Sayyid Zohair Islam, Habib Bank Metro on platinum sponsorship. Please give him a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
Before I invite you, Honorable Chairman, Ambassador Farukh Amil, I just wanted to thank you, all of you, because I know it's a Saturday, it's a Saturday for you, but it's a Saturday for all of you. So thank you so much for each one of you for taking out time. Thank you.
अच्छा जी बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम अस्सलाम वालेकुम एंड गुड आफ्टरनून। उर्दू में मैं बोलने लगा था लेकिन हमारे साथ यूएन के जो चीफ बैठे हुए यूएनडीपी के सैमुअल रिस्क साहब, सो आई विल हैव टू कीप इट मोस्टली इन इंग्लिश। तो सबसे पहले तो आई एम रियली हैप्पीली सरप्राइज्ड टू सी द नंबर ऑफ यंग वुमेन हियर एंड आई थिंक दिस इज़ a testimony to where Pakistan is going and you are our future. And as my late mother always told me, वो बार बार ये कहती रहती थी, कोई कौम आगे नहीं बढ़ सकती जब तक हमारी लड़कियाँ नहीं पढ़ेंगी. So this is about education, and I salute each and every one of you who have spared their Saturday to come here and pursue education. So thank you very much. Equally, I would like to acknowledge the great educationist, entrepreneur, Mr. Faisal Mushtaq, for consistently pursuing these dreams of young people in Islamabad and in many other cities now. And I think his contribution to the world of education is phenomenal. So thank you, Faisal. Thank you very much. Acha, girls in science. I'd like to just say a few words about this. I was too stupid to learn chemistry and physics and biology. मुझे नहीं समझ आती थी. So I had a sister, I have a sister who's far more cleverer than me, and she managed to get a PhD in inorganic chemistry. मुझे कहती रहती थी, कहती देखा, मुझे science पता है. I know science. What are you studying? And I said, you know, we're studying everything. But of course, if we don't have young women in science and technology, we will not move forward. So if you look at the dynamic societies of the world today, Germany, Japan, China, United States, Canada, all the European countries, all the girls are learning science. And if you look at CERN, that is the Humanity Space Station on Earth in Switzerland and runs under France with the Hadron Collider, you know, it is run by an Italian lady physicist, a woman physicist. And we have 95 young people working there, and 20 of them are women who have done science. And I think we should recognize them and salute those young ladies who have got PhDs, who are researchers at CERN. I mean, if you don't know what CERN is, C-E-R-N, look it up after this, this session. So I'm very honored to meet a very eminent panel here. And the title is From Sky to Space. Now, it's our immediate environment, but it cannot be disconnected from the Earth. So the Earth is part of this continuum in which we inhabit. But if we're going to look at the sky and the space, as a species, we've been looking at the sky for millennia, and we've been wondering, udhar hai kya? And asman mein, what is in the sky? So this is very important for us as a species to be thinking about where our place is in the universe. Whilst the public sector is central to the development of any country in education and funding, sponsorship, strategic ownership, but the dynamic societies, you look at the dynamic societies jo dunya mein hai, they're all have private sector researchers. The private sector universities and the research institutions in partnership with the businesses are moving forward, and they're all interested in science and technology. And remember that innovation, and I request all of you to focus on innovation. What is innovation, particularly in science and development, and science and technology? It's hardwired into the mindset of nations. So, and it doesn't happen by accident. And I always take the example of countries like Japan. They have literally nothing. But what they've done, they've focused on science and technology, they've focused on education, and they've taken their society so far forward. And they're now in the fourth industrial revolution, they're making technologies which seem like science fiction to us. So where are we in this? And I think it's very important to look at those countries and that experience, that are countries that are focused on science and technology, innovation, and that creates wealth. You know, it will make money for you. And your creations, your innovations must empower you. And there's nothing stopping young women, absolutely nothing stopping young women of moving forward with their ideas. But please, one thing I would remind you, जब आप कोई invention लेके आए, कोई आपका novel idea, please protect it with intellectual property rights. And I must say this, because अक्सर what people do is they say, I've got a great idea, मैं university में पढ़ रहा हूँ, somebody comes along and says, I'll give you $5,000 for that idea. $5,000 for a 21, 22-year-old is fantastic. But your idea has gone to somebody else. So please remember, whatever your science, whatever your technology, whatever your invention is, protect it with your name immediately through the intellectual property. The other thing I'd like to say is that we shouldn't just talk about research and development. You're going to get PhDs and masters. So what is the point of elegant academic theses that end up on the library shelves? Wo fayda kya hai uska? Pakistan has a lot of challenges, and when we're talking about from the sky to space, we're looking at the challenges we're facing from climate change and from overpopulation. So what we need to be looking at are research and product development. Bhai aapne products cheeze banani hai, and you look at the needs base. So when you jo bhi aap padh rahe hain na, focus on a needs based solution, because once you have that, that will empower you financially. You create employment and financial security for yourselves and others. So please do focus on this. Acha, so turn your science and technology into needs-based strategy. So, हमें क्या चाहिए? What do we need as Pakistan? How can we tackle and implement the SDGs since we have the UNDP chief here? What can we sell to other societies? हम कब तक, do you want to be a creator or do you want to be a consumer? Why can't you, through science and technology, empower yourself with ideas, make things that other countries and other societies want to buy from you? So आपको ये सोचना चाहिए, consumer or creator nation. So think about this, and it has to be, it can't just be academia, brilliant professors, brilliant students. You have to bring in the private sector, industry. Industry must see your ideas in academia, in science and technology, and be able to sell it to our legislators who will enact the laws. It's a tall order, but there are many successful examples around the world. पूरी दुनिया में आप देखें ये कैसी चीज़ें बन रही है. आप चीज़ें जाके market से खरीदते हैं and you think, who made this? Who is making the money from this? Even if it's a simple beverage to a face cream or to a software. So just think about this. Very, very important. The other thing that Pakistan needs to be focusing on, and your science and technology, Pakistan, mashallah, Allah ke fazl se, we are an agrarian society. And our agrarian economy is very important, and we need to be focused on agri-tech. Hamari abadi hai, I challenge anybody here to tell me hum hain kitne. We don't even know how many people we are. Somebody says 250, someone says 270. Log keh rahe we're 300 million. We don't even know. So how are we going to feed everybody? So think about science and technological solutions in your education to help these challenges in addition to climate change. So we have very good things that have happened, you know, in science and technology. NDMA just around the corner, it's fantastic. It's doing really well. And agar aap dekhe na May 25 mein kya hua tha? If it wasn't for the science and technology of our defense industries, we would not have been able to have had the success or be able to defend this great land of ours if we didn't have science and technology. Please do not forget that. And please, I would request a round of applause for the technologists who developed those systems. So, बहुत सारी चीज़ें AI. I'm not going to talk about AI because I'm going to ask the eminent panelists. But it's not the only thing. I would like all of you to think about neurotech. Now, neurotech, what is neurotech? Can you imagine an implant in your brain that can be controlled by others? They can see your thoughts. This is happening in California, the University of California. So think about that. Machine, man, mind. Where are we going? Who will control us? Will robots control us? There are many, many other questions. So we are already having a problem with lethal autonomous weapon systems. That is technology. That is technology. Those are the drones. Those are the drones. So we must think about those particular technologies as well. So it's good to see a new awakening. Suparco had this wonderful conference, it's just finished yesterday, and many groups, many organizations were there. And Pakistan has to move forward. How? Through science and technology. We need that, and we need young girls and young women to have an equal partnership in that. Thank you very much. Hello, hello. Ji. So the eminent panel has been introduced, and I'm going to start off the series of questions that I have, and I'm going to start with Ms. Anna Faisal, if I may. So the question that I have for you, Ms. Faisal, is focused on what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts about science and its broader role and impact of teaching science in schools?
Thank you very much, Ambassador Farukh, and thank you to the esteemed panel for your presence today. Let me start by focusing on the word development, which lies between teacher and conference. We call it the Teacher Development Conference. And because teachers are the custodians of
tomorrow's nation builders, so we can definitely call it Nation Development Conference, can't we? And to make it more localized, let's call it Pakistan Development Conference. You are the custodians of tomorrow's Pakistan, and hence I call it Pakistan's Development Conference. No nation can move forward until and unless it focuses on science. Why science? Because that itself is a systematic study which constantly focuses on experimentation and constant observation, which then leads to a certain organized data set, which we call it as knowledge. And keeping science in mind, the initiative that Roots Millennium Schools, Future World Schools have taken are in the form of its focus on STEM education and robotics education. Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Digging deep down into science and taking it to the very topic that's we need to go from sky to space. We speak about space science. And in space science, you're not only stuck to 3 dimensions, which is length, breadth, and height, but there's one more dimension to it, and we call it time, the theory of relativity. And time has no end to it, but it goes infinite and beyond. And that's where beyond comes in. The very thought that your own mentor, Sir Faisal, has put in to bring in this whole initiative of beyond to the classrooms, because he doesn't want to end education. His entire focus remains on science, because like I said, science is one subject which keeps itself into constant observation and experimentation. Now it is up to you whether you focus on a Montessori child and think that, well, how can I implement science into that? Yes, you can. The very moment a child holds on to a pencil and force is enforced when he or she wants to write that first stroke, that's where physics applies. Moving on, primary education, grade 1 to 5, there's a broad spectrum, great topics, and one of the topics that children want to indulge into is solar system, and that's when we speak about the gap between sky to space. Children take great interest in this particular topic when it's being taught in the classrooms, which is solar system. Now it is up to you how you use beyond to explain solar system to them. Incorporate the best prompts into beyond, into Google Classrooms, and bring in the best thoughts for a child into the classroom. It is up to you that you develop that sense of exploration over how that child keeps on developing. Take science as a strength, dear teachers, because through science, it is because of science that we have done this journey of coming down to today's age, which is AI. How do you come down to AI? You definitely had this come in as an invention. How did it become an invention? It became an invention because there was a set of data which was put together. And how was that set of data that was put together? It was through science, because there was constant exploration. So dear teachers, let's keep our focus on STEM and robotics, cross-sell it across all subjects, and be custodians of Pakistan's development. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Faisal, for that, and thank you for reiterating the importance of the scientific method. Thank you. Now, the The next question I'll put to the UNDP Chief Representative, Mr. Samuel Risk. Of course, all of us have heard and we've seen that there's been a huge downturn in donor support for the United Nations, and the United Nations has been critical in helping education and development activities around the world. And you continue to play an important role. Now, what are the challenges you're facing and how are you going to mitigate those, particularly in the context of education and education for girls and education in science?
Thank you very much, Ambassador. I have to start with a confession. I never really liked school very much, but I spent a lot of time in school for sure. And I think the reason I kept going back to school is because of teachers that I liked, teachers that I really appreciated, and always thought that I would learn from them. You know, for the last 2.5 years that I've been here, I think I've seen what I've been calling recently a tale of two Pakistans. A Pakistan from 2022, 2023 that was on the brink of default with the International Monetary Fund, security challenges, a change in government, and the impact of the flood still happening from 2022. And a Pakistan from 2025, in the summer, that is a very different Pakistan. Confident, vibrant, much better diplomatic relationships, macroeconomic indicators are up. But here's the other Pakistan, social indicators are down. And that, I think, is the challenge, how to reconcile two Pakistans, the one that is confident, vibrant, appealing to investors, and the one that has social indicators on education and health and human development that are going in the opposite direction. So I come back to your point, and this is the one thing that I asked Faisal when I first walked into the room. What is the gender balance among teachers in the Millennium schools? Because it certainly doesn't look like the other social indicators here. 75% is amazing. It's quite amazing, because on almost everything else, the numbers aren't great. You're asking about development indicators. So average literacy rate here, 62%, maybe in Pakistan. Among girls, 52%, not very good. Just a few weeks ago, when Professor Ahsan Iqbal, minister, was visiting through China, one of the things that is noticeable, was visiting to China and Vietnam, one of the things that is noticeable about Vietnam and their growth is how much education plays a role. 95%, 96% literacy rate in Vietnam, but among girls, 99%. And I think that's important to note. Where do we invest money now? I think the support of international organizations is additional support in addition to what the government and the private sector spends on education and other social indicators. That, I think, is important to note.
Thank you, Sam, for that. That's very important. I'll come back to a second question on that, but I'll just move to Dr. Mehreen Mujtaba, who is an expert on climate and health. And Dr. Mehreen, it's obvious that climate change deeply interacts with human health, from the microscopic level to literally food security. So what technologies do you think the young people, the young girls and boys that are here, need to be preparing in education to deal with these tough challenges?
Okay, thank you very much, and good afternoon to all of you and to the esteemed panel. Climate change is one of the major problems that the entire world is facing, but Pakistan is one of the 8th most impacted country in the world. Can all of you hear me? Right now, the climate change conference is happening where all the world leaders are gathered trying to solve the issues that the world is facing. And a lot of youth activists, climate activists are present there demanding for a right for themselves also. Now, Pakistan is one of the countries that is most impacted by climate change, and health is the human face for these impacts. When I look at climate change, I look at all the starving children in this country. I look at 60% of the stunted children in this country who do not have access to food because of food insecurity caused by climate change. I look at areas in Sindh and Balochistan where there is massive water scarcity and people have to travel, especially women have to travel for miles to get water. Apart from that, when we look at the floods which happened in 2022, the apocalyptic floods, but then also the ones which happened recently in 2025, we see the loss of infrastructure which resulted in loss of roads, houses, but a lot of schools as well as hospitals. So people did not have access to go to the hospitals to get medical, any sort of medical treatment, but at the same time, so many children could not have access to go to schools. So if you look at climate change, and if you look at your own country, we see the human face of these impacts on every corner of our own country. So since this is a teacher development conference, what I would request our teachers to do is to identify these problems when they are sitting there in the classrooms, and from a lecture mode, move a bit more to the project-based learning mode, in which the teacher is a mentor and a coach, where we are highlighting the problems that our own country is facing. Yes, we need to highlight the problems which are global issues, but first of all, we need to highlight the local problems, the local issues, and we need to instill this curiosity, and through communication, we need to instill this inquisitiveness in our children, attending these classrooms, these spaces of learning, where they start challenging the problems that are which are happening in our own country, where they sit and they brainstorm regarding how they can solve these problems, whether that means employing AI, using digital technology to access the far-off communities in Sindh. It could be a very small hub created within a classroom using very cheap and accessible materials, where children can kind of see how they can solve a problem like impure water, which is available, which a lot of people in Sindh and Balochistan are drinking and ending up with diarrheal diseases. So what I would request our teachers to do is to kind of go from the lecture mode into the mentor and a coach mode, where you are instilling the whys and the hows into children and moving away from the whats. So like if you're talking about photosynthesis, you don't just ask the student, what is photosynthesis? You're asking the student, okay, let's see if we take a plant to Mars, how is it going to do the photosynthesis in a different alien environment, and how and why would it adapt to the different environment? So this is kind of instilling an inquisitiveness and a curiosity in children. And apart from that, this is kind of making them look out into problems and trying to solve them at their own level. Another thing I would request the teachers to do is to get the children out of the habit of being scared of giving an answer, because we as a nation are always scared of giving the wrong answer. What we need to instill in our children is that when you are going into experimentation, into extrapolation, there's going to be a lot of wrong answers. A hypothesis is not always going to be correct. You have to go through a process to reach that particular inference. So what we need to instill in our children in classrooms is that there are going to be a lot of wrong answers before we reach the correct answer.
Yes.
And one little anecdote that I would like to share is, and I want to congratulate Faisal and Anna and the Roots Millennium system. One of the children in Mirpur, Azad Kashmir, I'm mentoring him. He's a high school child. And how I got to know about him was through World Meteorological Organization based in Geneva. Now this young 16-year-old boy understood that heat is a big problem in the country. It's a global problem, but it's a big problem in this country as well. So I got to know about this child because he reached out to WMO. And it's congratulations to how you've made the children think and analyze that this is a problem and how can we sort that out. And for the past 4 or 5 months, I've been mentoring this child in how he can go about collecting the data sets, how he can do his research to come up with conclusive ideas. So this is the mindset that teachers need to develop in the children. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for that very detailed reply. I think it's a clear elaboration. Now, last but not least in the first round of questions is Mr. Ahmad Kamal Janjua, who is the CEO of Cosmic Space System. And when I read his CV, I was so excited because every little boy and girl is always wondering about the sky, and I think he's actually followed his dreams. Now, space, as you know from Star Trek, is the final frontier. That's the thing. The richest people in the world are now expending their money and their imaginations on how to stake humanity's presence in the solar system and beyond. Do you think we will ever become a spacefaring species? First part of the question. And what can be Pakistan's contribution? All these young boys and girls who are here, who would be hopefully following science, what can be our contribution? And linked to that, is the science and technology education of Pakistan, there are pockets of brilliance, gearing our current and the next generation for this challenge?
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. This is Ahmad Kamal from Cosmic Space Systems. It's a pretty small space company since we are in Pakistan, but we're trying to do really big things. We're actually working with Sparko. We also do Earth observation, where we try to sell their imagery all over the world. We do space consulting. We are into space education and outreach. We've been working with Roots since my hair was black. Now they're white. So maybe like more than 10 years now. We also build purposeful built space discovery labs. These are more than STEM labs. STEM labs are just like STEM and robotics. This has like aerospace, AI, astronomy. Because I love space, I love the universe. I want the children to learn about the universe. Because planet Earth is like really small. If you look at our solar system, Milky Way is just like one small galaxy out there. And there are 100 billion galaxies like Milky Way. And, and this universe is like so big that you can't even imagine. As far as your question number one, spacefaring species. So spacefaring species is definitely, we will become a spacefaring species. You know why? Because we are not from here. Human beings, we came from another star system. Allah Ta'ala sent us here. Hazrat Adam was sent here. And that's what we believe. And we are not from this planet. We are not built for this planet. Our physical composition is not for this planet. It's like so hot here. It's like so cold. We cannot be outside. And there are big nations working on this, including Pakistan, the US, Japan, Canada, China. Everybody is struggling. Their number one stop is the moon. And moon, they have like several programs. Then their second stop is Mars. Moon is like a refueling station where they can refuel and, they can go to Mars. But this is not it. The Russians have sent Venera back in 20 years ago to Saturn. And French, Italians, so many have sent things to Jupiter, the Juno of Jupiter. And we are trying to cross the boundaries of the solar system. 2 aircraft, like spacecraft, Voyager 1, Voyager 2, are already in interspace. So we are already working on that, and in the long term, it will happen.
Right, but just a follow-up question. What should these young people be thinking about in education? Where do you think Pakistan's going with this? Are we on the bus, or are we just watching it go by?
See, right now we are at the basics of this. Sparko has a space education and outreach program. Small companies like us, we also do space education and outreach programs. We work with schools. We teach children and the teachers. Actually, the teachers are the most responsible persons, and more honorable person in the society, because they teach our children. Whatever they teach, That's how the nation becomes. So for the teachers, the most important thing about science and technology and space education is, number one, first of all, learn yourself. You should learn about all this. You should be willing to learn about science and space and what is beyond in space. Because if you do not learn, if you're not willing to learn, nothing will happen. See, I'm like 55 years old. I feel like I'm a child. I don't know anything about the universe. So you have to learn. Unless you learn, you cannot teach our children. And number two, the internet is here, and you have information flooded all from the internet. You can get any kind of information about the universe. Go beyond the solar system. What I have seen in 20 years, everybody is within the solar system. Nobody knows about beyond Pluto what is happening. It's the Lord has made the universe is like a really big place.
Right. So thank you very much for that. I think I think the biggest challenge here, it seems to be that there's almost a lack of interest. But two things that Miss Anna and Miss Mehreen have just said, which I think should resonate with the audience here, and that is that the issue of science that is constantly evolving, the role of the mentor, the teacher as the mentor, is critically important, and of course, technologies evolve overnight. So I'll put this question to both our lady panelists, what would be your key message to the young girls and boys in terms of science and technology at school? You said it already, but what would be the focused, how would you look at spurring the interest of children? Because sometimes children are not interested. So how would you make them interested?
For that question, may I go ahead or do you wish to? The answer to your question was already answered in some of the narrative by our esteemed panelist. It is up to the classroom practitioner, it is up to the teacher to build the interest of a very learner or a child in the classroom to take space science or science in particular as a subject of their interest. Every intervention matters, dear teachers. Whether we speak about the James Webb telescope through which you look into space and build that broader imagination, or if it were a hovering rocket, or as a matter of fact, just building their imagination into space. I think it is up to the teachers, and it is through project-based learning, promoting critical thinking, hands-on experiences that children develop into the classrooms. It is through allowing them to build their imagination and then let them take space science or as a profession or as the subject of interest and be those space physicists or the scientists that the nation requires. So it definitely starts through the classroom and it starts through the teachers. Thank you.
Thank you. Mehreen.
Thank you. So when we look at the 5 C's of pedagogy, which is critical thinking, creativity, communication, collaboration, and character. Now, these are the skills that are the demand of this century, but these are also the skills which are going to be rewarded the most in this century. And this is where the teachers come in. Science is scary. Studying science is scary for children. It's because it's all theoretical. And understanding something theoretical means memorizing it more than learning it or inquiring about it. So this is where the teachers come in. Take science out of the classrooms into the fields. So if you're teaching botany, it should be outside in the gardens or in the parks. If you're teaching zoology, it should be outside. If you're teaching space, it should be looking out through a telescope. That is when you're going to build more interest in children by making them do science in a more practical way. And that's how they will get more interested. So now we are moving away from the what's in education to how and why's, which is more student-centric. than the lecturer-centric, which is more about memorizing the concepts of science. So let's make science less scary as a concept. Let's make mathematics less scary as a concept, and let's make it more practical. That's when it becomes more interesting. So as a child, I still remember when you're sitting in your classroom and you're reading about pollination and you're looking at the diagram of the stamen and how it happens is way different than going out, picking a flower and just, removing the petal and the stalk and looking at the whole thing bit by bit. That's what stays with you forever. So I think what we need to do is make it more creative, and then let's open the door of communication between the mentor, the coach, and the students, and make it more interactive. Thank you.
So we've just got about 8 minutes left, and I'll now move to another question to Samuel Risk. And this is, you should think about this, all of you, and you'll get an expert view. Many countries clamor for aid. We're always looking for money, fund this, fund that. And yet, they're, like Pakistan, incredibly resource rich. We have everything. Allah Ta'ala ne sab kuch hame diya hua hai. So what is the problem? The biggest resources, education, are the human resources. So is there anything wrong with the education system? How should we improve it? What does the UN say?
Thanks very much, Ambassador. So I would say the issue related to education now is probably more about the future of work. And I think this probably relates to the previous question. If all of you in your classrooms are asking your students, what do you want to be and where do you want to be in 30 years? And what is the path towards that? If somebody says scientist, you think about it. Do they have the right pathway, especially as a woman? Are they going through STEM? And I'll tell you 2 examples just from the last 1 month. Last week, I was on a long road trip to rehabilitate, among the many projects that we have, the start of 40 school rehabilitation in Larkana, mostly for girls. We talked to young women who were there, mostly about 14, 15 years old, asked 10 of them, what do you want to be when you grow up? 1 person said policewoman, 9 said teachers. I think that's great for teachers and the future of teaching. However, I wonder if because of the subject that we have in this panel, there is a fear of talking about STEM. 4 weeks ago, there were 4 young girls who were quote unquote ambassadors, because we have the gender-based support, etc. 4 young women, 13, 14, 15, also came to our office. And of the 4, when we asked them, what do you actually want to do? 1 of them said, I want to be an astronaut. And she is homeschooled. So there is something, I think, about the level of energy and enthusiasm and creativity that exists in this country that often doesn't show up in a traditional school structure. And I think this is really one of the great things that Faisal and Anna and the Millennium school system has actually done, which is actually to be able to show a Pakistan that has a school system with nearly 40,000 kids, 2,800 teachers, 65 campuses, and what the future of Pakistan's not only education but work and creativity and ingenuity actually looks like. And I think that's great. I think Anna earlier on mentioned AI, and this is probably one of the biggest challenges, which is the sense that technology will replace people or human resources. I think the one thing to deal with, the one way to deal with technology, especially in the classroom, and I think that encourages a lot of young people for the future, is to think about AI encouraging curiosity, not replacing curiosity. I think that is the biggest challenge now, and I think that's probably the biggest hope for the future as we move ahead.
Very much for that. We've just got just over 4 minutes left. I'm going to put a question to all the eminent four panelists. Sky to space. What is the biggest thing that is affecting us when we go outside? It's the pollution. So we are part of this environment. We need scientists for the scientific solutions. So what should we be doing? Should we be all of them planting a tree, seeing the ecosystem? The question is to all four of you. What should we do about the pollution crisis in the sky? How do we deal with this? Because it impacts health, it impacts education, impacts everything.
See, regarding pollution, it's like one of the main factors, like, so many things are going bad around. People cannot breathe. I mean, so many diseases small children are having and everything. There are, number one, we need a national policy. Everything starts with the policy. And then they need vendors below. I know a few companies who are working on a very small level in Lahore. And they have created IoT-based systems, students, like, startups, which they give you the systems and you put it in your house, and within a certain area, there is less smog, there is less pollution. The government can do bigger things. We don't have to build roads all the time or big buildings or something. We need things which can make things easier for the citizens. We need solutions which can, help, these things like pollution and, floods and all that kind of a thing. Just one small thing for the UNDP, sir. Two things for you, just a little bit. Number one, two main focus things which you guys can, it's just a recommendation as a consultant, as a citizen of Pakistan. Two things maybe you guys can focus on. Number one, in the education sector, in the STEM sector, the schools need to better build the labs and stuff. Maybe you guys can, invest into that. And number two, like in the climate change, we have floods coming down from, Gilgit and, all the lakes bursting and cloud burst and all that. We need monitoring infrastructure, which the government cannot afford. Like, if you guys can, fund that, that will be helpful for Pakistan.
The pollution aspect, or how do we deal with this? And should we just be looking for handouts? My question was, you said it and Ms. Anna said it as well, do science. Why wait for somebody else to do it for you? Why can't we do it ourselves?
Okay, sir, as far as national policies are concerned, there is a Pakistan National Clean Air Policy. There are a lot of beautiful policies existing in the country, a lot of wonderful documents gathering dust in office spaces. What we need to teach our children in schools, and that's going out to all the teachers sitting out here, and I'm so fortunate that I get this opportunity to speak to you, is build this inquisitiveness in children to first of all identify their own local problems, as I said before, and try to come up using AI technologies on how to solve those issues. So for air pollution, when we look at Lahore and we see that so many schools are closed down, when the AQI levels are high, how do we solve it? And another thing we need to teach our children is for them to speak out for their rights. To breathe clean air is the basic human right. So our children need to speak up and ask and demand for their rights. That's the best thing they can do.
Thank you very much, and I think we're nearly out of time. I would like to thank our four eminent panelists on this, and certainly I would like to thank Anna and Faisal Mushtaq, who have given this platform, and they are doing everything which is counter to the negative narrative that you get from organizations like the World Economic Forum. So please don't believe them. Look at the success story of yourselves, of Anna and Faisal Mushtaq, what they're doing, and do science. They've all told you to do science. Plant a tree. Look at the ecosystem. Make it clean air. It's from the sky to space. Think about science. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, our panel 5, many, many congratulations for a successful discussion. I'm sure many of us have picked up key takeaways with us, things to help us reflect on. Thank you so much, honorable panel. May I please request Dr. Faisal Mushtaq and Ms. Iram Atif to give away mementos to our esteemed panel. Thank you so much, Ambassador Farukh Amil Sahab. Thank you so much, Dr. Samuel Risk. Thank you so much, Engineer Ana Faisal. Thank you so much, Dr. Mehreen Mujtaba. And thank you so much, Mr. Ahmad Kamal Janjua. A round of applause, Mr. Farukh Amil, Chairperson, Intellectual Property Organization, please. Dr. Samuel Risk, Resident Representative of UNDP Pakistan. A big round of applause, everybody. Dr. Mehreen Mujtaba, Climate Change and Health Specialist. Thank you so much, Dr. Mehreen. Our very own Engineer Ma'am Ana Faisal, Chief Development Officer, the Millennium Education Group. Ma'am, thank you so much for your pearls of wisdom today. And Mr. Ahmad Kamal Janjua, President and CEO, Cosmic Space Systems. Thank you so much, sir.